Kicking it in Kubic's crib, the drum off series in the front room right here from Brantwood Studios. And right now we have a guy that really needs no introduction.
Yeah.
What he needs is a conclusion. But he insists on an introduction. And remember, I introduce, but I don't guarantee them, so just remember that. And a guy who, when he makes a mistake on stage, always looks behind him for some reason, and there's nothing behind him. One of the best steering wheel drummers in and around the region. May I welcome into the drum off series right here, kicking it at Kubic's crib, Michael Vittori.
Just
Michael.
ask my wife about drummers.
What kind of car do you drive, Mike?
I drive a minivan.
A minivan. Does it have a good steering wheel for drumming?
Oh yeah, leather steering wheel. Great steering wheel for
What
drumming.
brand of car?
Chrysler Town and Country.
Chrysler.
Load
Nice.
and go seat so I can fit all my stuff in there. Perfect.
I have a Dodge Magnum. It's one of those station wagons,
Yeah.
like kind of looks like a hearse.
Yeah.
So it works well, but I don't gig anymore. So as soon as I got that, I stopped gigging. Isn't it funny how some steering wheels really sound good as a snare drum,
Like a
especially?
table. Like sometimes the table sounds good, sometimes it sounds bad.
Did you do that in school? Did you start drumming when you were a young kid?
I started drumming on the high school or the grade school desks at Washington School in Chicago Heights.
Washington, you're a Chicago
Yeah.
Heights guy.
Yeah.
Born and bred.
Born and bred. Lived there my whole life. Moved to Indiana a year ago.
I have a bit of a connection with Chicago Heights. I don't mean it that way. I know you're from a good Irish family. And I know Frank Rossi
see?
and
There you
Gino Sferruzza. He works at WJLB. I remember Chicago Heights because of Luigi's.
Yeah.
And Luigi's was on Halstead Street, just north of Route 30.
Yep. 13th and Halstead. It was right on the corner there.
And that was, when I was a kid in the 70s playing, that was a big, you were big time if you were playing Luigi's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, that was a big gig.
When I was a kid, we would ride our bikes down Halstead Street, and we would be across the street because we obviously couldn't go in Luigi's at that time. We would stand across the street all night long on a Saturday night just to hear the band through the front door. Then years later, I played there a bunch of times at Luigi's with the famous back room, the dressing room with all the names on the walls.
Unfortunately, I've torn that down.
They just tore it down less than a year ago. That building was still there. It was repurposed for another company, but that building was still there. And every time you drive past it, you'd look across the street at that spot where we would stand. Me and my buddy would stand and listen to the rock music.
And the only other thing I remember Chicago Heights was my mother. Whenever Christmas time, the holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving, I had to go to the Honey Baked Ham place, which is not far from Luigi's off Halstead. It's that little street west of Halstead.
Yeah, that's on Dixie Highway.
Because my mom gotta go get the Honey Baked Ham. Make sure you get the right one.
It may still be there. That may still be there. I'm not sure. I have to take a ride over there because my in-laws, all our family still lives in.
I'm sure it's still there, but my mom was a stickler on that. You gotta go get. That was the only place when they started opening other Honey Baked. It's not as good as that one you got. I always had to drag my ass over there. You're a fireman.
Yeah. 30 years I did on the job in Chicago Heights.
How was that? How did you do that gig?
It was actually a great, I loved it. I never used a sick day in 30 years. I loved it. I did.
Weren't you afraid?
Yeah, later.
I mean, fire is scary. Fire. Whenever I see a house on fire, that's
we're the crazy ones running in when everybody else is running out. Yeah.
I give you guys credit for that.
I was inside a lot, chemical plants, steel mills. I did it all. I retired as a captain. I was a shift commander. I had the best guys, man. They took care of me like gold.
Did you ever drive the truck?
I did. I was an engineer on a tower. I drove a tower for about 7 years.
Is that one of the snorkel jobs?
52-foot long truck. It was a 100-foot aerial.
So how was that steering wheel for drumming?
That was an excellent steering wheel for drumming, man. Except we didn't have a radio in that. The only radio that was in that truck was the fire radio.
You could see the guy back at what the f***'s going on over there? I hear.
Yeah. It had great
Is that Phil Collins or something?
It had great pedals for drumming too, you know. Music's been a huge part of my life since I was a kid.
Your parents played?
My parents didn't play, but my mom and dad were phenomenal dancers.
Like ballroom dancers?
Ballroom dancers. And I got turned on to the Beatles real early when I was young by my sister. And a huge Beatle fan. And then I was a huge progressive rock. I like progressive rock too. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Rush, Dream Theater now. I started listening to a little bit more progressive music, yes. And getting back to the big band music, when I was in high school, the bass player in Midlife Crisis,
Midlife Crisis is
the band that I'm in now.
Okay.
His father, Eddie Skoronsky, was the president of the Musicians Union. When I turned 16 and Tom turned 16, Eddie came to us and said, "You got to join a union." So I went to this dusty office on 15th Street in Chicago Heights, walked in this office, had a huge stuffed owl in the window.
Don't tell me there were like two guys in there in sharkskin suits or something.
Yeah, right? the Chicago Federation of Musicians. Eddie Skoronsky was a tremendous, he just passed away, he was close to 100 years old, tremendous trombone player, and he played in a big band. It was a big, 20-piece, it was called the Henry Butel Orchestra. So I joined the union, and then on a Thursday night or something, I got a call. I was listening to all the music. My mom and dad would go dancing on Saturday nights. I got a call from Mr. Skoronsky. He goes, "Can you come and play at the Chicago Heights Moose?"
The Moose Lodge.
The Moose Lodge on Saturday night with Henry Butel's orchestra. And I think I was a sophomore in high school, playing in the high school jazz band. So I was like, okay. He goes, "Well, you got to read." "Oh yeah, I can read." "Okay, we'll play." He says, "Show up with black pants and a white shirt. We'll bring the tie and the jacket." I show up, I set up, and all these guys are there, and these are guys from the war, from the World War II guys that are in this band. Big, great guys. They gave me a bow tie that's like this big, and a velour tuxedo jacket that was red roses. It looked like my grandmother's drapes. And we're playing, and my mom and dad are dancing, and I ended up doing several jobs over the years with Henry Butel's big band, and my father. Again, my mom and dad were fantastic dancers, but sometimes on Sunday mornings after I played with Henry Butel, my dad would kick the bed. "Hey, your bass drum was off last night." He'd go to the dancers. They
looking for that.
A bass drum. Downstairs I'd go, set the bass drum up with a hi-hat and sit there for an hour going boom, tss, tss, boom, tss, tss.
Frank Rossi, if you've never seen Frank Rossi, you got to check him out. He's in and around the region. And Michael plays with him at times. First time I saw him was at Ciao Bella.
Yeah.
Out in Scherreroville.
Yes.
And he was the nicest guy. Great accordion player.
Oh,
one of those old school entertainers that you don't see that often.
And I say this all the time, and Tom, the bass player from Midlife Crisis, years ago we were in a band called Excalibur in the late 70s, early 80s. But Tom one day saw me with Frank, and he goes, "Hey, where's the bass player at?" I go, "That's Frank's left hand." He goes,
the accordion bass line is the best thing.
Frank Rossi has the best left hand I've ever heard.
We don't mean that in any kind of weird way.
No, yeah. No, that's no.
you start that off? Your band is Midlife Crisis. How
Yes.
old are you?
I'm 58.
Okay, so what are you going to do in 2 years? What are you going to change the name?
Well, I always said it's named after the other guys, not me. I'll tell you the story about Midlife Crisis, how we got that name. My wife gave us that name. When I got married, I stopped playing for 14 years. And before that, you know, a young drummer, I was playing lead drums. You know, and the guitar player was playing in the band was playing lead guitar, and the singer was a lead singer, and the bass player was trying to play lead bass.
Less of a band,
right?
Or
and,
soloist.
And we did a lot of fighting. We did a lot of it's craziness.
Turn everything louder than everything else.
Right, and if he got louder, I got louder. You know, so when I met my wife, I actually sold my huge drum set to buy my wife's
Octopus, you said it was.
Yeah, I had the big.
If anyone doesn't know what that is, you got to Google it. It's
I had the
Octopus, meaning two bass drums, eight toms.
8 toms. So I got rid of that, and I stopped playing completely. I didn't even own a drumstick for 14 years. And then at this my kids' grade school had an Oktoberfest. They asked me to come up and play, and I played. And I started playing again, and my ear and my reaction time to the other players and my feel in my pocket were 1,000 times better than it ever was.
It's called maturity
yes,
because you listen more when you get older.
And I think the greatest attribute a musician can have is his ear, number one, and then number two is his reaction time to what the other guys are doing in the band. After those 14 years of not playing, that's what came back better for me. There was 2 fathers at this Oktoberfest that we were doing, and one of them is John Ensminger, the lead guitar player in Midlife Crisis, and Bob Broderick was another father there. And so we got together, and they said, "Hey, you know a bass player?" I said, "Yeah, I know a bass player that I played with all through high school." And so I called him up. He came over, and he came downstairs, and we said, "Hey, we're going to start playing." And my wife came downstairs, and she said, "Hey, can I get you guys anything?" And Bob was like, "Yeah, I'll have a coffee, but it's got to be decaf." Another guy said, "Yeah, I'll have a coffee, but it got Splenda because I'm watching my sugar."
Yeah, this is way different than rock and roll.
So we started laughing because 20 years ago it was 5 cases of beer just to start practice, and now I got to watch my sugar. And as my wife was going up the stairs, she goes, "You guys are going through a midlife crisis."
There's the name of the band.
And there's the name of the band.
It's funny, Michael told me that when he started playing drums again, we were talking earlier before we went to air, that we rehearse in the basement. We like to kind of rehearse in the basement because you can kind of work out your parts. and you could tinker, as you said.
Yeah, tinker.
So when you're tinkering, my wife says this too. She goes, "That's the same beat," because I'll be doing these drum offs with other people. She goes, "I know that beat. I know that was you because you play that all the time."
Yeah.
This is why I like having a drum off, because it pulls me away from playing the same thing that I always do, my exercises, and you fall into that. You don't realize it.
Every drummer has a toolbox of 20 rhythms or 20 things that he does, or his signature sound or his signature rhythm, my ghost noting or my triplets, whatever it is, that's your signature thing. And the reason you go out and watch other drummers and you come to play at something like this is so that I can steal all your stuff.
Younger people get locked into, say, Metallica. They want to play like the guy in Metallica.
Right.
What's that guy's name?
Lars Ulrich.
You know, I met him once.
Did you?
I met him at we were at a gig. It was in New York City. Their manager knew another band that we played with, my band, Matter Rose. It was somewhere at Madison Square Garden, some big festival music thing.
Yeah.
We weren't playing, but we were just hanging. And I knew this guy, this manager guy, kind of looked like Jesus Christ a little bit. And he goes, "Rick, I want you to meet Lars." And I turned around. I go, "Where is he?" "Oh, there you are."
In my future life, I'm going to play harmonica because you show up, you go like this.
Yeah, but you got to bring the PA though.
Back at night, you go home.
"Oh, I'm here. You don't have a PA. Where's your PA?" "Oh, shit." Weirdest drum setup you've ever played? Weirdest, because you got to understand, if you're not a drummer, everyone thinks like you just get behind it and you play it. But sometimes you get behind it, you say, "You want to sit in? Go ahead, sit in." I'm like, and you get there and it's it's rubbish.
I don't know. I think, I've played some.
Use the house kit. Remember that deal? Yeah.
I've played.
Don't worry, don't bring your drums. We got a house kit.
I played a couple where the bass drum pedal, first of all, you had to stomp on it. Second of all, it did not bounce off the head because it was like cardboard. It was like.
Do you ever get it where it goes right through the skin almost? You got to pull it back?
Yeah, you gotta like put your toe underneath the footboard and go like this to bring it back. Yeah, I've played some pretty bad.
I have been in some situations where Quaker Oats boxes, the old Quaker Oats tubes, used to sound better.
Yeah, and you're going, man, and it's a lesson learned. You're going, next time I walk into a place, I'll check out the kit before they ask me to play.
That always bothered me about guitarists, bassists, keyboard players. When you do these light gigs, we used to do. They like, don't bring the whole kit, just bring the snare and fine. But I always used to tell the guitarists, well, don't bring all 6 strings. Why don't you just play 3 strings?
Yeah.
I think one of the worst gigs I did was a private function in a house outside. But they said, "You're going to play out in the yard. We'll have something to go play on." Now,
I've heard those stories.
Yeah, they did. They have some wood planks, which were, I put the set up the drums, and it was all on angles, like the hi-hat was slanted. But the main problem was it was about 107 degrees out, and the humidity was through the roof. Then I'm setting up just sweating beads. I'm soaked. I didn't even do anything yet. I just barely get half the set's up, and I'm soaked. And we have to do 3 sets.
Yeah, and you're exhausted.
So I go, "Can I use your bathroom?" "Oh, we have an outhouse." "Oh, thanks. They have a porta potty." So I'll go sweat in there. One particular song that you hate playing? There's got to be a song you hate.
Well, over the years, I think the song I hated the most was After Midnight.
After Midnight.
Because
Clapton.
And because it went on and on and on.
With cover bands like that song, After Midnight. Certain songs are recorded, and it's hard to emulate that. Right. I always like when a cover band takes it and makes it their own.
Exactly.
Do you guys do that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we did Little Sister.
Elvis. Right?
Yeah. When we first started playing again, we got together and rehearsed. We practiced on our own. We rehearsed together. So we get together. John, the guitar player, would say, "Okay, this is the song we're going to do. It's called Little Sister." I never heard it before. And he would play the rhythm, and I would hear the beat in my head, and we would play it. And it made it ours. It wasn't necessarily Elvis. So
you didn't know what the original bit was.
No. So about 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years later, I'm in the car and it comes on the radio. I call John up. I go, "Hey, Elvis isn't doing this song right." You can't play things perfect. No one wants to hear it. If I want to hear a record, I'll go put the record on.
That's
if I go see a live band, I want to see what you can do with this song. Over time, as you get older playing music,
Well, that's the fun
you
part
play
about
for
it.
those moments.
It has to be fun.
Right.
You know, if you get someone who's a stickler.
Right.
And I played with a few bands. I told you I played with this one swing band. They were just no fun.
Guy says, hey, we're supposed to be at 93 beats a minute.
You know, he's like this all the time, up, down.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Come
like,
on, dude.
Michael, thank you so
Oh
much
my God, thank you
for coming
That was
by.
awesome, man.
Listen, we have prizes to give away. You have a choice. Of course, we have the We Built This City Starship boxed set. It's 73 versions of the same song. Special cuts, special mixes, outtakes, extended play version. Here we can see it right there. There's a dance version. There's a dog whistle version of the song. There's pictures of the members' blouses, of all their blouses and their rayon choices as well. Photos of their new perms and old perms, and of course,
thinking about getting a perm. I had wavy hair and waved goodbye.
And of course, you have that choice, or you have the Walter Brennan boxed set, if you want, and which also includes Walter's hat photos, real McCoyisms, and the Appalachian jugs, which everybody loves, and of course, you can learn the Amos McCoy strut. So your choice right
I
here.
like Walter Brennan. That's my.
You like the Walter? Well, there you go. The Walter Brennan box set for you. You've been in the Front Room here at the Drum Off series of Michael Vittori. I'd like to thank him for coming in, kicking it at Kubic's crib. We'll see you next time.